Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT. I want to talk really specifically about this thread that went places on Twitter. Not really a lot of likes, but a lot of discussion. This comment by CS was posted on one of Discord's videos. It says, everyone can achieve their goals with a bit of hard work. That's what Coder said in the vid. He says is working a job where you have to be extremely lucky to be successful. If you have 25 concurrent viewers a day, you're in the top 25,000 streamers, and you have people who stream for the better part of a decade without getting significant viewer or even sub counts to make streaming or even something like YouTube their main job. Then on the other side of things, I've seen people who work jobs such as labor or office work all the way down to min-wage jobs and work for the better part of a decade and never receive a raise. It's frustrating to hear anyone can achieve, or if you work hard enough, from people who have made it, because no, not everyone can make it. Luck has a lot to do with it, but there's skill behind it also. For some people, minimum skill is their hardest work, which will never amount to something like Coder has. It's mostly frustrating because that's not the real world for 99% of people. Now, Coder quote tweets this and says, I understand where this person's coming from, but I don't agree that making it in any industry is luck-based. I used to work midnight 10 at a casino and stream 4 to 5 times a week during the day for 2 years before I went full-time. Here I am 3 years later. Hard work pays off. So this generated an insane amount of discussion from a variety of people at varying degrees of success in the Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube space. I think that this is more generally about YouTube, but I want to talk specifically about Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube today, because I do think that a lot of individuals are kind of mystified about like how to start doing Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube, and as a result, they assume that the people who have made it have done it through a combination of like extremely lucky breaks and just like being in the right place at the right time. And while that certainly does help, as I say in this tweet, for getting an audience quickly, I think that a significant amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube got there because they lasted the longest. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is perseverance over quality of content, consistency of upload, or like being extremely lucky. And I just want to talk a little bit today to individuals who have been discussing on the follow-up tweet to this about what they would want to see in a beginner's guide to a Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creation thread, and what I think would be helpful for that. YouTube in general, I think, is very alluring to people as the concept of a job, right? I speak to a lot of kids just by virtue of living in an area with like children who are like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up. It's replaced astronaut. But it might as well be just as unattainable, because being the YouTube personality that these kids look up to is like the next Mr. Beast or the next like Jake Paul or whatever. And I do think that by and large, it is almost impossible to do that unless you have substantial industry connections and like the most insane luck in the universe. But Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is in a really weird place. Unlike these other things, the bar for Yu-Gi-Oh! Content is really low. A lot of the most watched content on the platform is just people filming a webcam and then putting their screen, like a display capture, up at the same time. There are multiple free simulators, both ones for competitive play and ones for automatic play that you can get into without ever buying product. Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Games are so mechanically important, everything that happens matters. There's not actually a lot of editing skill required anyway. And with the exception of like pretty much exactly Team Samurai X1, no one in the space is really that good at making like a flashy, well-edited, well-packaged product. So for newcomers with literally no experience, there is very much an opportunity for you to potentially make a living doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos. Oh, the other thing is that I see a lot in this thread about like survivorship bias, people being like, well, I don't want to hear from you, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Creator who does do this as their full-time job. You survived, you know, what about all those people who didn't? You know, it's biased to say that like it is possible for any individual. Yu-Gi-Oh! Isn't gambling, right? There's not that much of an opportunity cost. You don't have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into building a rig for Yu-Gi-Oh! Streaming just to cap out at 6 viewers and call it quits. For people who are afraid to take the first step because they think there's a huge investment, just take it anyway. There isn't. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out and you've lost nothing. If you are interested in starting Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, I'll divide this into little sections that we can talk about. So the first section is going to be your goals. Before you go into Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTubing, you need to have a pretty good idea about what you want out of it. Do you want to make these videos for a hobby? Do you want to kind of get clout from them? Do you expect to go to YCSs and you want people to come up and ask you to sign cards and stuff? Are you expecting to do it for a living? Do you think that you can like bankroll, you know, you plus a significant other plus some number of children off of a YouTube channel? And do you think that that amount of money will be sustainable throughout a bunch of YouTube ad changes. I will not lie to you, the way that Yu-Gi-Oh videos are made right now is like long form, and you have to pay pretty specific attention to them. It makes them very lucrative for advertisers, but that could change tomorrow. Do kind of consider if it's something you want to do full-time, and if you want to tie your finances irrevocably to something as fickle as like the YouTube advertisement algorithm. The second thing is like, be realistic. For a top Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube channel, 100K honestly is like an unattainable goal to start out with. When I was reached out to in like 2018 by SEMO, there were some people in the Grand Championship with 20K subs, and I was like, 20K, I'll never have a number that big. You know, back in the day, the titans of Yugitube, Vexicus and the like, were under 10K. It is only a very modern thing that people like Yu-Gi-Oh YouTubers are crossing over into top watched in normal things. I don't think that 1 million is really likely for any of us to ever attain, with the exception of exactly Team Samurai X1. If you expect to make a channel end at about 40,000, that is an insane number for YouTube with respect to Yu-Gi-Oh! If you are uploading frequently on a 40,000 individual channel, if you are retaining 40,000 viewers, that is sufficient to live okay. I think that that's a good goal to shoot for, and everyone I know with more than that has the capacity to, or does, do it as their full-time job. Okay, so the first thing you should be doing when developing a YouTube channel for Yu-Gi-Oh! Is evaluating your strengths. A lot of individuals come into the scene with the wrong understanding. They say, SEMO videos make a lot of money and they get a lot of views, so what I need to do is start emulating his content out of the gate. Don't do that shit. Recognize what you are already good at and develop those skills into something marketable in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Space. If you are, like, for instance, I was like a theater major and an English major, so I said, okay, I can write and I can, like, do, like, cringy little skits. And that's what I ended up, you know, kind of warping all of my content around. Early 10-minute testings were all about, like, putting puns in the deck profiles. Turbo Tuesday was about doing funny little acting bits. If you are a really good player, if you have a lot of natural skill at the game, or have dedicated a significant amount of your life to the game, you know, consider doing content like packs or neshes, where you are playing like very high-level Yu-Gi-Oh! For long periods of time, commentating your plays and letting people who are less good know why you are doing what you're doing. Being honest with yourself about what your strengths are is extremely important to making content. The last thing you want to be doing is trying to fit the mold of a different creator and doing it worse than them, and then just like looking like a stupid asshole. Also, be realistic about your weaknesses. I see a lot of people who are like out of the gate like, you know, I want to do like Nim style content with none of kind of the editing know-how or the connections that, or the capital that Gage has, to be honest. And then, of course, it falls apart almost instantaneously. The only person who is going to be hurt by you being unrealistic about your shortcomings is going to be yourself. Also, be realistic about your time. I talk about it a little bit in the original thread, but the reason 10-minute testings are structured the way that they are is because it's a long written script that I can write on a bus while theory crafting a deck, followed by a minimal amount of actual physical, like, recorded audio, because the other people who were living in and around, you know, where I was living had to go to bed at a certain time, as did I, in order to make it to the next day of work. Craft your content around your schedule. Don't try and force your schedule to work with content that is out of your reach. After you have done that, you have come up with some content that you feel comfortable making, start making it. Don't sit down and plan it for a long period of time. With respect to a significant amount of creators I know that are at the over like 50K level, there are a ton of series and individual videos that, like the Library of Alexandria, have just died in the planning stage because they got caught in development hell. There is no easier way to shoot yourself in the foot than to just actualize your content and get it down to the nitty-gritty for so long that you are never uploading it. Just upload bad shit. You're gonna have to get over yourself and release things that you are not 100% proud of. If people give you feedback that says, you know, here's what I'd like to see improved, that's a good thing as well. Do not bite off more than you can chew. The Number one mistake I see new creators make is starting a progression series. And not like a progression series with any changes, or sometimes with changes, just a progression series, period. A progression series relies a lot on your own likability as an individual, the chemistry you have with your co-host, and it requires 2 separate individuals to hit a recording schedule every week for 2.5 years. Maybe don't start with that. Consider producing more bite-sized content that doesn't require a lot of people's schedules to line up. Consider producing stuff that doesn't lock you into a years-long commitment. Be realistic about what you can handle early on. It's not going to be a lot, but that's fine. Be regular. This is a mistake that a lot of people make. They get so in their head about wanting to produce only like super high quality content that they release like 1 or 2 videos a month, if one a month at all. I think this can change based on where the algorithm lands, but I think the magic number is somewhere between 3 videos and 6 videos a week. I upload 7 because I'm fucking stupid as all hell, but a ton of channels that were already really big, Doug, Sam's a good example, avoided plateauing by sticking to a schedule that looked like that. It gives you enough time to put together stuff that is decent as well as not really burnout. Be willing to pivot. A lot of people make this mistake. They will make an early series that gets a relatively large amount of views. If you have 0 subscribers, 1,000 views per video is unthinkable. And then they will make that content until they die. If you see other content doing better, if you see a lack of individuals who are outside of your usual viewer base interacting with your content, be willing to change it. You are going to absolutely want to, cut off a series or a group of videos that are just sort of riddling your channel with disease than alternatively. Doug says rip commenters don't understand, but Doug has also made a significant amount of changes to his channel and has doubled its size in a year, right? There's a reason, for instance, that 10-minute testing is now a weekly show. There's a reason that Locals Live doesn't exist. One Take doesn't exist. There's a reason that we're making significant changes to Junior Journey, right? Coder, another great example. What does he upload now? Stream highlights. Previously, he uploaded maybe once a week rulings that you should know, which is cool, but locks you into a very specific kind of content, and at the end of the day does hinder growth a little bit. One Take doesn't exist? Oh shit, I meant Turbo Tuesday. Run that shit back. Yeah. And finally, be happy with your own content. This is a very strange one, I feel like I should say. But I know a lot of individuals who are online are depressed bisexuals with ADHD who are unwilling to admit when something they make is good or interesting. You are going to have to get over yourself. If you are confident you are making decent videos, you have to be willing to tell people you are making decent videos. There are so many creators that will come up to me and be like, hey, would you mind checking out my stuff? I'll be like, of course. And they'll be like, yeah, it's not very good. And I'm like, well, then I do not want to check it out. Be your content's biggest cheerleader. If you're not, why are you making it? Okay. So that's kind of a quick overview about pre-steps to making content. So let's talk a little bit about skills to develop if you want your content to improve over time. The first is editing. Especially early, you are not going to be able to pay editors. This is obvious. Editors cost a lot of money. The standard rate for editing is $40 an hour. If you do not have that kind of liquidity, you are going to have to edit yourself. This is something I think every Yugituber has done. I still edit some of my series, and there are, some Yugitubers who got so into editing that they edit their own series, but in my opinion, you really should not be purchasing editors out of the gate. Your edits may suck. You might not be very good at it, but that is a skill you will have to improve, and it will pay dividends early. Audio editing. This shit is extremely important, especially if you are attempting to save money. You will get a lot more mileage out of opening up Audacity and fiddling with an audio track on a USB mic that cost you $30 than you will immediately buying a Shure SM7B and just going to town. This is something that individuals like King Scarlet have been very good at, with comparatively low audio quality setups, being able to kind of mask it by sort of a mastery of audio editing. There's a lot of free tutorials on Audacity, which is a free program that you really should check it out. Writing, improv, public speaking. These are kind of humanities skills. Feels weird to come after all the nitty-gritty engineering stuff, but being a generally funny, cool, and interesting person is in your best interest. Start trying to write daily, maybe like 500 words. It can even be like dog shit fan fiction. Just getting in the habit of putting words onto paper, then reading them back and seeing if they make sense will drastically improve the quality of your scripts. If you have the opportunity to do any sort of acting or improv, and you attempt to stream afterwards, it will get infinitely more easy. And public speaking. This one, people come to me all the time and say, hey, I want to make YouTube content, but I'm afraid of talking to other people. Sorry. You gotta do it. It is like the #1 thing you're gonna have to do. Next up is SEO manipulation. This one is a little more nitty-gritty, but you are going to have to get good at the algorithm. This sucks. It feels bad, but there are a lot of tutorials and a lot of individual groups that you can join that are free and will show you how to do very baseline level stuff. Selecting correct tags, titles, thumbnails, and the like will get you a lot farther than operationalizing, like down to the very tiniest detail, the interior of your content. And finally, management. This sucks. If you are trying to do this at the same time as you have a job, or even afterwards, you are going to have to get really, really good at time management and, to a certain degree, really good at getting other people to be good at time management. For instance, right now, I am working like 80, 90 hours a week, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But a significant amount of that is scheduling other people, fielding certain assets for different shows, payroll, stuff like that. Learning how to manage your time effectively is really, really, really important so you aren't staring at a screen for 4 hours a day scrolling on Twitter. Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is different than other YouTube spaces because you really don't need very expensive equipment. If you enter with a shitty internal laptop mic, there will be a space for you. If you're using an iPhone as a web camera, there will be a space for you. But if you want to give your stuff a little more polished, there are a lot of really inexpensive options that you have. So let's start with mics. So the #1 thing that people obsess about is mics. Mics come in two types that you will probably be considering. The first is USBs, the second is XLRs. USB mics are plug and play. You jam them into one of the ports on your computer and they work. They cap out extremely early in terms of quality, but they also cap out extremely early in terms of price. They are extremely, extremely cheap, which is a very good thing. Do not feel, especially early, like you have to get a sick XLR setup. You do not. A lot of very prominent YouTubers made it work for a long time with mics that were a lot lower quality than what we have now. I would recommend this specific microphone. Again, real quick, want to say I'm not sponsored by Amazon. There's no links in the description or anything for this. This one's fine. It is the Tonor Computer Cardioid, I read this every day and I don't know how to pronounce it, condenser mic with tripod stand and pop filter. This is a $25 mic. It's fine. King Scarlet used this exact mic to record studio quality audio for years. It's fine. If you are buying an XLR, people will try to sell you on the industry standard, which is the Shure SM7B. This mic is $400. If you have $400, I mean, go for it, but maybe don't. The setup I uses the Rode Procaster. This is the Procaster, not the Podcaster. They have two mics that are named the same thing. It is $230 less than the Shure SM7B. The improvements to this microphone that I would like happen on the audio editing side, not on the mic quality side. Really would recommend this. I think RJ uses it too on my recommendation. If you are buying an XLR audio mic, you will need an audio interface. This is the one that everybody uses. Keep in mind, you are not only spending the $400 on the mic, you are spending $179 on an audio interface and $149 on a cloud lifter, which you will probably need as well. Do want to stress that XLR microphones are the best in terms of, a really good quality audio, but do understand you'll be dropping about a stack on the whole setup. If that's outside of your budget range, you can make it work with the USB mic. Cameras. Many people ask about what you should use in terms of video cameras. Depends on the type of content you're making. If you are doing mostly deck profiles or vlogs or something and you do not want to spend money on a DSLR, you have this really quality camera in your pocket if you've got an iPhone. The iPhone cameras are ludicrously good. They're unbelievably strong. there are a significant number of applications that you can use in order to convert your iPhone into a webcam for streaming as well. These applications do cost money, but they will cost you way less money than a camera will. If you are looking for a webcam for streaming, the industry standard used to be the Logitech C920 HD Pro webcam. This webcam caps out extremely early. It does 1080p, but I am not a fan of this. I feel as if it has a significant amount of video lag that you have to kind of correct in your editing phase, which sucks. I have had much more luck with the Elgato Facecam. It is more expensive by 2 times. You pay the Elgato tax. But outside of this, webcams don't get much better. The next step up is a DSLR, which is a huge investment and requires a knowledge of camera work and battery maintenance. If you are willing to drop that kind of money, do go for one of those. But if you're just starting, your iPhone will work fine, or the C920 will work as well. Software. A significant amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is just smash cuts between different scenes, right? Here's me right here, wah, and then here's me again, but I'm slightly over here and maybe a little bit quieter, right? That's a significant amount of how videos on YouTube are, Maybe you cut in like hey, yo, the pizza here in the middle if you're being edited by Stevie Blunder. This is not a difficult thing to do. You can perform this on almost any editing software there is. If you are looking for an entry-level video editing software, I have great news. You can download Windows Movie Maker. I legitimately think Windows Movie Maker is sufficient for 99% of Yugitubers. If you do not want to use Windows Movie Maker, you have a lot of other options. Adobe Premiere, of course, is kind of the industry standard in terms of editing. It is easy to use, but unfortunately, it does cost a ton of money. Inversely, DaVinci Resolve 17 is free. This is another really, really widely used piece of editing software. The difference is it's extremely difficult to use. You will have to, learn it. But that's a skill that is transferable. And if you just want to easiest possible one, I use NCH's VideoPad video editor, which is a one-time payment of $40 for all of my low editing series, right? If I'm just throwing up a stream highlight or something and I want to do 30 minutes of editing, this is what I use. If I want something a little more involved, then I'll obviously use DaVinci Resolve, but for 10-minute testings, this is just what I use. For audio editing, there's really only one thing you can use, and it's Audacity, and it's really good, and it's easy to use, and there's a million tutorials about it, and learning it is just this incredibly important skill that you will be able to take anywhere you go. So just do that. Assets. I get a lot of people asking me about where you can get things to put in your videos, logos, title cards, things like that. Here are some exceptionally funny free places you can get decent stuff. The first is cooltext.com. Cooltext.com, for me, really shoots the gap between cringy 90s edginess and a decent looking stuff. There are a significant amount of times on YouTube where I'll see just a logo that's been made in cool text and I'll go, cool text. But it looks good if you are writing words on a thumbnail. Tribal, is a classic font all over YouTube. This is such a silly thing, but many people don't even know where to make stuff like this. Broke Boy Yu-Gi-Oh! The logo for that is just a pre-made asset in Dan's editing software. Don't sweat too much about individual assets. Anything you have to make, there are free tools to make it. Don't get in your head, end up in the dev hell where you're waiting on 45 people you commission to get back to you. If you are looking for nice graphics for Twitch, like the border I have, the dono goal thing up there, Nerd or Die has very cheap pre-packaged assets. Arcade Pop, which is on screen right now, is actually the asset package that I use. This will make your stream look infinitely more professional than anyone who has not just straight up gotten a custom one done. When I say these are cheap, I mean it. You get personalized alerts and widgets and screen transitions for $10. Many people ask where you can make thumbnails. Obviously, Photoshop or GIMP are fine. If you want to do a really easy one that does not require you to learn a goddamn thing, befunky.com has a photo editor in which you can throw together a thumbnail in seconds. This is the one I just did for the Creator Invitational. Let me just make a one where I tell Farfa to go fuck himself. Here's me. You know, there's me. And here's Farfa, right? And he's really big. And maybe I'm telling him to go fuck himself because he's so big. Fuck you, big boy. Bada bing, 100,000 views. If you are unsure how to get these nice little cutouts of individual people, just take a screen cap of a well-lit still of your video that includes the person you want, and just go to remove.bg, upload the video, and it will AI remove the background. All right, 2 more sections, and then we'll do some words from the audience. Expectations. A lot of individuals expect, okay, I'm following all this stuff, like, let's become an overnight success. That's not going to happen. Expect to work a lot for literally 0 reward. For a long time, you should conceptualize this as like a hobby that you put time into because you like Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you don't like Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is probably not the right place to be. You will not get recognition for a long time. It took me 2.5 years before, like, I ended up on Yugituber Grand Championship. It took me 1.5 years before Hardleg reached out to me, which was my first, like, you know, like, big break. For a while, you will be making content for nobody, hoping word of mouth makes it work. And secondly, expect to cap out very early. Do not expect that once you get, 10,000 subs, you'll wake up tomorrow and it's 11 and it'll snowball from there. I have had pretty similar channel growth for like 6-month periods at a time. Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube is a niche of a niche of a niche, and there's just not the viewers necessary to make the I am now too big to fail thing happen. It took me a full year to get Twitch partner. It took me 2 years to get affiliate and an additional 1.5 years to get partner. Finally, I want to talk really specifically about luck. The big discourse surrounding this was if luck plays a role in being a success on Yu-Gi-Oh! YouTube. It does, obviously. But luck plays a role in playing Tearlament too, and Tearlament's the best deck. The way that Tearlament wins most of its games is by giving the deck enough chances to get lucky, right? So what you need to be doing is the same thing. Much of what people ascribe to luck isn't actually luck. The algorithm is a known quantity that you can manipulate. Collaborations are a thing you can personally instigate by speaking with other creators. You don't have to wait until one of them sees you in a recommended box and reaches out to you in order to try and get something, but do kind of hit at your belt. At a certain point, and the point is really early, like 5, 10K subs, you are going to be included in creator things. Look at Smitty's tournament this last weekend, the Creator Clash. There were people in there with like 3.5K sub channels. There were individuals with like 2K followers on Twitch, but they were included in the same tournament as like 200K sub channels just by virtue of being in the same like content sphere. Right? And the more you rub elbows with those people, the more they get to know you, the more you can appear on their channels, and the more your numbers will grow. And then finally, be ready to use opportunities when they come into your lap. I'm of the opinion that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community is small enough that opportunities are a little bit of an inevitability, but when people are willing to give you a shot, take it immediately. I have one silly story about this. Alex Simo was supposed to commentate the Philadelphia PPG with Gage, but Gage couldn't make it for some reason, and he literally was thinking to himself, who do I know that is around Philly? He remembered I lived in Jersey City, sent me a Facebook message and was like, this is a long shot. Are you around for commentary? I was like, absolutely. I drove up to Philly for a day and a half. We did commentary. And then it was received so well that we signed to do it at like 10 more tournaments. If an opportunity like that comes into your lap, be ready at all times to take it. Don't think to yourself, oh, well, I could do this, but what if it doesn't work out? Or like, it is a big time commitment. What if it doesn't have the intended goal? I did a ton of stuff with a ton of people that didn't go anywhere. But I was giving myself enough opportunities to pop off, and eventually it happened. Get Simo to message you noted. True! That's why Farfa sucks now. Okay, let's do some questions from the class. I pulled out some of the responses to this. People who were like, what do you need for a beginner's guide? I think the biggest hurdle for me will be trying to get footage of IRL events, setting up equipment for it, approaching stores and players, everything surrounding it. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. You can very easily make content that doesn't necessitate getting footage at IRL events or of IRL players. Again, this is about being realistic about what you think you can do. If you're nervous about doing this, don't make content that does it. I will say at every OTS I have worked with, even when I had a low amount of subs, they were very happy to give me a lot of leeway in terms of filming, just because it was like free publicity, even to a small audience. How do I find my niche? Currently it is, do you guys remember Kaiba or, yeah, I got 37 tops and this is how I got there. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creators feel this way, as if they have to have a thing that sets them apart from everything else. I don't necessarily think that's true. There are a significant amount of Yu-Gi-Oh! Creators for whom I would be like, yeah, they're not like a particular type of duelist, or they don't make a particular type of content that no one else does. They just make a lot and it's really good. But I will say this is part of being honest about your strengths, figure out what you do better than other people, and then make a series that exemplifies it. Not so much a beginner's question, but how does one break out of a niche to cover new areas of content for the game without alienating their audience up to that point? This is a great question from the Law Yu-Gi-Oh! Law Yu-Gi-Oh! Also a really fantastic channel specifically about duel links. So, you know, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what they're asking here. Just stop making it. This is such a weird thing to do, but honestly, just make different videos. A significant amount, if you think the videos have a larger appeal than the videos that you're currently making, some number of your existing subscribers will come along for the ride, and the remainder will be new subscribers, right? That's the end goal. I think a lot of people get in their head about like, oh, I don't want to alienate my old viewer base. If your niche is niche enough, then at some point you will have to. How do you know when to pivot from meh ideas versus be patient and persevere? I use myself as an example because it's what I have to go on. I've had several ideas flop and I just cut them. My skits and songs used to barely scrape 200 views though, so perseverance paid off. Upload the bad videos. Like, I've had an idea flop and I cut it. Don't do that. Just finish it and then upload it. I think a lot of people get in their head about only wanting to upload good content. Uploading consistently is much more important than putting out banger after banger. How much of an investment do you have to be willing to put in? Both physical and the games are a lot of money. So, I don't think the investment is very high at all. We talked about this a lot in the equipment and assets sections. I don't think you need to ever purchase a single card. There are many YouTubers, Farfa for instance, who just don't play the paper game. DB Grinder's entire YouTube fan base is individuals who watch him because he is really, really analytical and smart and good at Yu-Gi-Oh! He doesn't own a deck. I have a hard time turning Yu-Gi-Oh! Into something entertaining. I love the game to death, but on stream I have trouble making Eldritch Duel number 46 something fun to watch. What type of advice would you have towards making it engaging? Well, I wouldn't play Eldritch. No. Talk with your chat. If your chat's not talkative, ramble, go on tangents, fill space. Occasionally you're going to play games against decks that do very little, and it's going to be frustrating to play, but you have to, you know, give people the illusion that you're still having fun. What's a reasonable price range for paying a video editor? I.e., at what point does getting one make sense to pay a video editor to do the editing? You seem to have Yu-Gi-Oh! Players who do the editing. How much does them being Yu-Gi-Oh! Players matter? So, reasonable price range is... You know, it depends on the editor. People who do not have a portfolio but are in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Space and want to get into editing will charge you a lot less. And if you're comfortable with maybe less quality editing or less practiced editing, that's fine. I think it doesn't really make sense to get someone to do the editing until you are at least making the amount of money that you make paying for the edit on the video. And then I preferably would like Yu-Gi-Oh! Players to do editing for me because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so specific that people who don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Occasionally don't have an idea of like what's hype and what isn't. I had Danny doing some like very, very small scale editing for me before he actually played Yu-Gi-Oh! And it was just unwatchable. Sorry, Danny, if you're in chat. Build into your schedule time where you're not doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Shit so that if you need to take some time, it's already accounted for. There will be days where you're crazy burned out. There will be days where something bad happens, like someone jumps into your chat and calls you a slur like someone did earlier today. Can you still make content even while struggling with the idea of speaking in videos? Yes. What kind of content can you make if that's the case? 101s. There's a ton of stuff you can... I mean, Elixordio has never spoken in one of their videos. Thanks, Stevie. What would you say is something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't need more of? What type of content is already oversaturated and wouldn't allow for a new creator to break out? Progression series is the number one answer for this. Progression series is for sure, but I'll make an addendum, like hour-long unedited videos. I see a lot of people who are like, here's my new series or my new idea or my new concept, and I click on it and the first episode is an hour long. I do not care how good the series is. If I have no understanding of what your content is like, no baseline or benchmark for which to judge it, and the first thing I see from you is going to take an hour of my day, I am not watching that shit. If you are making videos, you know, do try and shoot for 8 to 20 minutes unless you are making a long form series, but those probably should not be the majority of your content. Aren't JJs like 40 minutes every time? I'm actually really upset when a JJ is 40 minutes. I try to keep them under 40 for that reason. But JJ has a whole host of problems that we're ironing out at the moment. How do you handle community interaction? You can easily say to handwave most input, but I feel like you need to allow for some in order to have people become invested in the channel and thus create repeat viewers and subs. How do you gauge what's a good amount of involvement? This is a great question. This sounds like a little bit of taking criticism, but it's more a discussion of confidence. When you make content, trust yourself to a degree to know what's good and bad about it. And then if you get comments that ask you to change individual parts or do things differently, evaluate them relative to where you want your content to end up. I've taken a lot of really good suggestions from comment sections, and I've ignored a lot as well because I know they're just wrong. For instance, Broke Boy is a good example. I know that a lot of what makes Broke Boy fun is like the snappy back and forth editing, the banter between me and Danny. And I've seen some people in the comments be like, can you please release the next one? Can you please just not edit the game so we just get like both of your perspectives and, you know, in real time? No, I can't. That's not watchable. But we also have had people who are like, hey, can you change how the video is displayed relative to the screen? Can you change whose perspective it's at? You know, it's disorienting to flip back and forth the whole time. That we will do. You just have to have like the confidence to know when you're right and when a chatter is potentially, you know, giving you a good idea. How do you stay motivated when your numbers drop? It just has to do with conceptualizing it. You know, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Numbers go up and numbers go down. If your numbers go way down, maybe it's because, you know, there's a problem with your content or your upload schedule, and those are things you can work on and fix. But if your numbers go slightly down, don't sweat it. It happens. I remember when I had like 38 subs in December of 2016, and one night I was like obsessively checking it because I wanted to make a 50 sub special. And it went from 38 to 36 in one night, and I thought it took me 2 weeks to get those 2 subs, and now they're gone forever. I'm going to fucking die. I was like, should I hang it up? Should I quit? Then I was like, Joseph, you're being very stupid. How to network in a professional and productive way? This is a good question. If you figure it out, let me know. Shiggies is right here. Collaboration is a huge part of growth. Be unapologetic about reaching out to people. Don't, you know, begin your ask with like, hey, sorry, I know this is a big ask. Hey, just be like, yo, I'm doing this. You want in, you know? And approach, of course, with a real actualized idea, not like, hey, we should do something together. When you are working with someone, make a point to like talk shop, feel out the conversation. If you're not vibing with them, you know, sometimes you just do the collab and leave. If you are vibing with them, maybe recommend something else at a different time at the end. But a lot of it is just like, and this sucks, I'm so sorry about this. A lot of it is just getting over yourself and being like, okay, it's going to be weird. It's going to suck to reach out to people, but I am going to have to do it because collabs are super important. The millennial's nightmare. But that's true of all jobs. Networking sucks and feels bad, but you do have to do it. Yeah, I think Meatball's got a good point. At the end of the day, you are talking with someone with a fundamental interest that you share. You've at least got something to talk about. It's going to be way more normal talking to them than trying to network with someone at a job you hate about a job they love. And that's pretty much all I had to say.